and welcome to Cretaceous Cantina, where today we're having a look at the Mattel Jurassic World Stygimoloch and Mercenary story pack. This is one of the new Wave 2 story packs. Actually, it's the only Wave 2 story pack, and it follows the format of the other story packs where you get one dinosaur and one human, except for the Claire set, which obviously have the gyrosphere and Claire. And I'm glad that they're doing more of these because the story pack assortment is one of my favorite assortments in Mattel's Fallen Kingdom toy line. And I grabbed this on Amazon.com. They went up for about an hour or so at $14.99. And I think they've gone back up one or two times since then, so I got really lucky. And this is an interesting set. I'll explain why as we go through the review, but looking at the packaging, you can see that this is new. Tells you that you get ramming head. The rest of the packaging is essentially what we saw with the other story packs. At the back, we get a look at the figures. There's the Mercenary, there's Stiggy, and once again, ramming head. At the lower left, there is the gyrosphere launching vehicle. Haven't yet picked that up, but I probably will at some point. Nothing really interesting here at the bottom. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and spend a little bit of time, get this unboxed, and when we come back, we'll take a closer look. Alright, so here are the two figures out of the packaging. Let's go ahead and first focus on the Stygimoloch. So when I first saw images of this set, I assumed that it was just going to be the attack pack Stygimoloch, maybe repacked along with the Mercenary, but it's actually a completely different figure from both the attack pack and the battle damage version of the Styggy available through Walmart, which is kind of cool. I don't like accumulating doubles of these dinosaurs since they're really double or triple dipping in many cases, so at least they're changing things up, which gives me more of an incentive to buy it. The sculpt is rather nice. It is quite similar to what we've seen with the previous Styggies, so that shouldn't really be anything surprising. It's not the most exciting release for that reason. But it does have a nice sculpt. It's not the most elaborate sculpt, but it still looks quite good and quite comparable to the other Styggies as well. And we'll definitely be comparing this Styggy with the other two releases in just a little bit, but first let's take a close-up look at the dinosaur. Alright, so as you can see here, it does look quite nice. There's some good detail going on with the head sculpt. I really love the eye. I think that the battle damage Styggy was one of the best sculpts in this entire line because it looks so movie accurate, not just the sculpt, but also the coloring. And the same holds true here. It looks just as good as those other Styggies. A really nice sculpted detail on here. And I really like the way that they colored it and, did attempt to match it so closely to Fallen Kingdom. You can see the dome right here, the little horns. And again, such a cute looking dinosaur, if I might say, probably the cutest in the whole line. It's got kind of a beak right there, gray in color. Rest of the sculpt looks pretty nice. Like I said, not the most elaborate, but you definitely see some of the texturing and some of the patterns that have been established on the figure. There's a little Jurassic Facts app scan thing if you guys want to take advantage of that there. All in all, it's looking quite nice. And again, I really like the coloring on the figure. It is kind of repetitive since we have seen this before. Even though it is a different sculpt, it still utilizes the same coloration. So I personally wouldn't have minded if they would have done something a little different. But, at least it's movie accurate. And, that kind of makes me a little less frustrated that they would use the same paint scheme. But something new would be appreciated as well. I like the little ridging that she has along her back, just like that. The forelimbs are not painted for the claws, but the hind limbs are. So that is pretty nice. And she's got a good gradient that goes between the more rusty orange color into the more tannish sort of color she's got on bottom right there. So it looks pretty good. I'm not quite sure what that is right there. Just a little imperfection or something. Same with their little spots. No big deals there. In terms of articulation, ball hinge here at the head. That works really well. Side to side, rotate it. For the forelimbs, you can move them out because they are on ball joints. You can go forward like that, rotate them as well. So pretty nice. And for the hind limbs, she just has swivels. They're not ball hinges or anything. So you can just go forward and back as well. And I will note that she is a little tricky to stand because if you look at her feet, they're kind of pushed inwards a little bit. I don't know if that's a result of how she was packaged or what, but she is a little hard to stand. So you kind of got to tweak her just a little bit. Maybe over time she'll kind of the plastic will resolve itself, but it is a little hard to stand compared to the other Styggies. Now she does have an action feature, of course. That's what really sets this apart from the other two. And the way that it works is it's not too dissimilar from what Kenner did for us with the Pachycephalosaurus. Basically, you have a mechanism here built into the tail. You push it down, and then it gets stuck. It's supposed to kind of have like a head ramming sort of attack. But I find that it gets caught, so you got to kind of play with it until it releases. And I actually bought 2 of these, and both of them have the same exact issue. So it just seems like maybe the QC on this figure just isn't that great, because, I mean, it shouldn't get caught like that. But both of my figures are doing it, so, you know, I assume that multiple of these are going to be like that. If you have this figure, let me know down in the comments if you're experiencing the same thing. It should be a great action feature, and it makes a lot of sense for it to have this sort of action feature, but the fact that it gets stuck, well, that's better right there. It's a lot better. Oh, there, it's stuck again. Yeah, it's kind of annoying. Here's a comparison of the Story Pack Stygimoloch along with the Battle Damage Stygimoloch with the little dino damage here on the side. Just punch that, and there it goes. As far as size goes, the Battle Damage is a little bit larger than the Story Pack figure. It's not a huge difference, but there is some slight difference in terms of the size. If I just kind of hold him like this, you can sort of see that the Battle Damage down here is longer. And also the proportion of the limbs. You can see that, I guess you can kind of see here that this is a little bit bigger, like the legs are bigger here on the Battle Damage Styggy. Head sizes, same thing. A little bit larger here on the Battle Damage compared to the Story Pack. You also have a more glossy look to the plastic here on the Battle Damage compared to the Story Pack. But, I mean, overall pretty similar. The paint pattern is pretty similar as well, if not quite identical. Just compare the 2 legs there. You can see the patterns are pretty much the same exact pattern. So I assume it's supposed to be the same exact Styggy, just the sizes are a little bit different. And then here we have the Story Pack Styggy along with the Attack Pack Styggy right there. The Attack Pack Styggy is the smallest of the Stygimolochs in this line. Just looking at her right here. You see she's definitely skinnier. Has kind of a curvy body. And if we look at her like this, they're actually pretty close to being the same length. I would say that the Story Pack is just, they're about the same, maybe just a beefier looking tail up here. And as for the heads, they look to be the same size. To be about the same size. As far as the patterns go, they're actually a little bit different. I think they're supposed to look pretty much the same, because you can see like you have like the line, dot, line. Same thing here, line, dot, line. It's just applied a little bit differently. So it just looks a little more distorted, I guess, here on the Attack Pack Styggy. But yeah, they're definitely a little bit closer in size than the Battle Damage Styggy, which is, you know, quite a bit bigger than both of these figures. Here's all 3 of them together. Here's the Battle Damage, Attack Pack, and Story Pack. Out of the 3 of them, I think that the Battle Damage one is actually the best. I just feel like it's got some nice heft to it. It's a little heavier. And of course, you have the Battle Damage, which isn't ideal. But when you close it, I guess it's not too bad. It just feels like a sturdier figure. Like with the Attack Pack, I mean, she's really like small, really lightweight. She seems to stand okay. But her toe claws are not painted. And then you have, of course, a Story Pack, which is a little more similar in size to the Attack Pack, a little bit fatter, a little bit beefier. And again, I mean, you just look at the body, much leaner, perhaps more film accurate looking abdomen on the Attack Pack right here. But I kind of feel like the Story Pack is actually the weakest, even though it should be the best with this action feature. It really falls short since the action feature doesn't work all that well. It's got a decent sculpt. It's just that action feature doesn't... Maybe you just got to do it fast. Maybe that's what the key is. If I do it quickly like that, well, it kind of gets caught still. So yeah, if you just wanted one Styggy, you don't really care to have the Mercenary, I would say probably go with the Battle Damage. And that brings us to the Mercenary figure. This looks very much like the characters that we saw in Fallen Kingdom, more towards the end of the film where they're unloading the dinosaurs into Lockwood Manor, and the ones that kind of duke it out against Velociraptor Blue, but don't fare so well. The figure itself is actually a retool of the Wheatley figure. The bodies are 100% the same exact sculpt. Obviously the paint is different on the two, but the head sculpts are completely different. And it makes sense for them to have taken that approach, because obviously they look like very different figures when you just look at them like this side by side. Wheatley kind of looks like Steven Spielberg. The paint, like I said, black. It's a little bit different here at the belt. If you look at the belt, it's kind of a different shade of black than the pants and the shirt up here. The boots also seem to match a little more closely to the belt. They're a little bit darker in color. For accessories, all he comes with is a rifle. It is a gray colored rifle. Not a whole lot to say about it. I mean, there's not really any paint details, just cast in this gray color. And the figure can't hold the rifle ideally. You kind of got to tweak it a little bit. You can see like it's kind of bent right here. And that's because of the lack of wrist swivels on these Fallen Kingdom figures or the Legacy figures. They just don't have the wrist swivel, which I think we really need. I think that everything else is sufficient on these guys. Like I can do without ankle articulation, but I feel like at the very least we need swivels on these guys because that would really help them to interact better with their accessories. In terms of articulation, you get a ball joint here at the top of the neck. It goes side to side, up or down, not really. Can't really cock it back and forth. Ball hinges at both of the shoulders, ball hinges at both of the elbows. Rotate it, bend it, swivel here at the waist, ball hinging at both of the hips, so you can actually do a full split here. You can go forward, and ball hinges at both of the knees, so you can get it like that, you can spin it. All in all, pretty sufficient other than the wrists, which these figures really do need. Please, Mattel. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, so there you have it. This is the Mattel Jurassic World Stygimoloch and Mercenary Story Pack. Overall, you guys, it's an okay set. I think if you don't already have a Stygimoloch figure, this is a good way to get that figure as well as the Mercenary figure, because this is the only way you can get the Mercenary, and I think that it's nice to have a figure like that to kind of build up our human figures in the Fallen Kingdom toy line. But unfortunately, it's not the best Stygi. In fact, it's probably the least best of the Stygi dino figures that Mattel has put forth, which is unfortunate because I really feel like it should be the best. The action feature should work flawlessly, and if it did, I think that it might very well be my favorite Stygi figure. And while the proportions of the Attack Pack Stygi might be the most film accurate and look the best overall, that figure lacks in articulation and it lacks in painted toe claws, which leads me to believe that the Battle Damage Stygi, even though it might be a little bit oversized, is the best Stygi in the line so far. I also feel like they could have done something different with the paint. Even though it has film accurate coloration, so did the other two Stygis that we already got, so I kind of would have liked to have seen something a little bit different. So while I would say that it is the weakest of the story packs, I mean, it's not all bad. For $14.99, you're getting the Mercenary figure, which I quite like, and you're also getting a Stygi. Great if you don't already have a Stygi, and if you're like me and you're collecting pretty much the entire line, then you're going to need to add this to your collection either way. Alright my friends, I hope that you've enjoyed this video. If so, do like, subscribe, let me know your thoughts down below. Be sure to follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Subscribe to Cantina Chatter on iTunes. If you're so inclined, please check out our Patreon down below. We will be doing a giveaway very soon, once we hit 5 patrons. As always, I'd like to thank you for tuning in to Cretaceous Cantina. Until next time, bye-bye.